One of the biggest questions new Amazon sellers ask when they start selling is when should I hire a virtual assistant? Because if you hire too early, you could end up wasting a lot of money. And if you hire too late, you could burn out trying to do everything yourself. So, in this video, I'll break down when it actually makes sense to bring on a VA and what tasks you should delegate to them first so they can help you grow instead of slowing you down. Getting a virtual assistant and hiring somebody to take care of a lot of your workload in this business can be very beneficial, but only if you are in the right spot for it. It can actually hurt you if you do it too early for a couple reasons. So, first off, you need to know if you can actually afford it. If you're not making any money in the business yet, if you're just brand new, just starting out, not a good idea to hire a virtual assistant. I wouldn't ever recommend that to anybody that I help out because then you start out in a hole. Like, the whole thing about Amazon is it is very cheap to start up. Really, only $250 a month for subscriptions across the board, softwares that you need to run the business, and everything else inventory on credit. But when it comes to VAs, it's going to add up very quickly on top of that. As you can see here, the typical range for a VA is $3 to $5 an hour, depending on who you get and I guess how willing you are to train somebody. Because you can go through third party companies, hire VAs out, and they will come already trained. They'll have prior experience. Most will have prior experience, but like with other sellers versus being trained in an actual organization. So, depending on where you get it from, I always recommend to go through onlinejobs.ph. And this is the typical range for a VA. So, if you're on the low end, $3 an hour, and they work full time, which they should because you want somebody doing it all day long. So that way you can scale up. $3 an hour, 160 hours a month, 40 hours a week for 4 weeks, $480 a month out of pocket cost. $4, $640 a month. $5 on the high end, $800 a month. So if you're brand new, you have no profit, you're starting out in a hole because you're going to have the first month, they're going to source products. Products are probably going to get checked in by middle of the second month, maybe towards the end, depending on how quick you are to order the products, how long it takes to get to you, then how long it takes you to prep them and send them in. And then you've got the waiting time for them to check in. So you may go 1 to 2 months in the beginning, potentially on the long end, 2 months, but usually like 1 to 1.5 months where you don't have any sales coming through. And then you have to wait for your products to sell. So you could be, if you're on the high end, either 800 or $1,600 a month in the hole. It's just not really a great option to take when you're trying to make money. You can do the sourcing yourself and you will need to know how to source yourself. So you have to be able to put in the time and the reps in order to pick good products yourself because maybe you see something differently than a VA does. I say no to a lot of products that my VA puts in there for different reasons in the beginning because they don't know my standards, they don't know my criteria as well. If they came from somebody else, maybe they had different metrics that they wanted to hit in their previous job. And now you might have a completely different setup that they need to relearn. So if you're just buying everything that they put in, that's not really a good way to do it. You need to know how to choose what to say yes to, what to say no to, and then be able to teach them why you said no to things so they can stop putting in deals like that in the future. Do you have enough time to source yourself is a big thing. Like if you're running out of time after you've been doing it for a while, then go ahead and get a VA. It's not a necessity all the time. A lot of people run their businesses without them. But on the other side, some people run their businesses with 10 VAs doing stuff all day long. And it just really depends on what you have time for. Because if you have time to source and you don't mind doing it, then why waste potentially $800 a month and lose that out on profit? That's like half most people's rent almost. So it just doesn't really make sense if you have time to do it. Now, if you're prepping your products and sourcing your products, maybe the prep takes a long time. You don't have as much time to source products, then look into this when the time comes and you can afford it and everything. If you're trying to scale up past where you're at, that's also another good option for when to do this because eventually you will hit kind of like a plateau almost where you can't really go up anymore because of that time restraint. So if that is happening to you and you want to increase your revenue, increase your spend, all of that, then a VA is definitely a good option to do that because like I said, you only have so much time in the day to be able to do this yourself. So that's really how you qualify if you're ready or not for a VA, if it's a good decision for you. That's how I qualified myself. I personally got a VA too early within the first couple of months and I couldn't afford it. So I had to let them go because I had a lot of personal expenses coming up and I just couldn't see it working at that time. So I went back to sourcing myself, did that for probably around like maybe 6 months, a year or so. I've had my current VA for about a year and a half, and then I have another one that just started a few months ago to do more of the admin side of things, which we'll get into. So, how do they really help? Like, what's their purpose? They take work off of your hands, obviously, so it gives you your time back. They can also target things that you don't want to. Personally, I don't like manual sourcing products. I don't like going through sales on websites. I never have. I liked going through the Seller Amp storefronts and Keep a Product Finder. That was easy for me, but it was just too tedious to go through manual sales and manual source them. So that's one of the first things that I offloaded to my VAs was just think about all of the things that you don't want to do or don't have time to do. Make a list of it. And if that list is big enough, then move forward with potentially getting a VA. So just give them everything that they can do that you don't want to do because they're getting paid to do it. So it's not like it's unfair to them. They are getting paid to do it. And that's part of the benefits of being the owner of this business and having an employee is you can decide what you really want to do and what you don't want to do. One of the biggest things is going to be also offloading back end tasks because some of like the, for example, like bookkeeping and keeping track of inventory that's lost and damaged and all this stuff is a lot of extra work that does consume a lot of time. So that's why most people actually end up getting an admin VA first once they're at a big enough point and they haven't had a VA because they know how to do the sourcing so well that they don't mind doing that. A lot of people I know just go ahead and get an admin VA. So, speaking of that, these are some tasks that I have handed off to my admin VA, just so that way, if you are considering getting one, maybe this is a good baseline to go off of. So I have them check my account health, I have them submit appeals and go through all of that with the invoices and deal with customer service because that is a very important thing. And it does take some time potentially to put all that stuff together, depending on what the complaints are and all this kind of stuff. So, just give them a game plan, tell them what to say once, or give them a couple examples, and then they just file that stuff for you, get the violations and complaints removed there. So, this is a daily thing that I have them check just in case, just so that way it doesn't sit there for a while. Because if you do get a complaint, then it will lock up your inventory. So, you want your stuff to be able to sell, and you don't want to let it sit there for longer than it should. Also, have them reply to customer messages. You don't get many of them, but when you do, it can go back and forth. So why not hand it off to them? I don't want to have to worry about I didn't respond to a customer, I forgot to do it. So I have them do it. Check that stuff daily as well. Same thing with customer feedback. Doesn't happen all the time. It is pretty rare and difficult to get customer reviews on Amazon. But when you get negative ones and you're selling through FBA, you can have them removed because Amazon has handled that. They will take responsibility for the reviews. So if we get anything underneath a certain rating that I've set with them, I have them go through and remove them. So that way it doesn't show up on the profile and it's struck through and it doesn't affect the actual rating of my store. I do have them check for price alerts also because depending on your repricer, how it's set up, and Amazon's new policy, if your price goes up too high when you're out of stock, it will deactivate your listings until you fix the price. So I have them go through and adjust that stuff. I have them add in maximum order quantities. So inside of SellerAmp, when you go down to your competition, you'll be able to see how much stock your competition has. And you can set your maximum order quantity to one, limit how much customers can purchase. So say it's a pair of shoes. You could set it for four or five because nobody a regular consumer is going to buy 4 to 5 pairs of the same size of the same shoe. So you can set that for that, and it also shows up in SellerAmp that you have only 4 or 5, whatever you set, so your competition doesn't really know what you're doing. So I have them do that on all new products. I have them add unlisted inventory into Inventory Lab. So whenever I make an order, yeah, I put it into my order tracker, which I have a video on, and they check that every single morning when they check in and clock in, and they'll add all of those into my unlisted inventory. So when I have them do a shipment or I do a shipment, all of the information's already in there. I don't have to go through and waste extra time. Just a small little daily task that they do. They take care of my stranded inventory and unfulfillable inventory removals. So that way, know that the products are coming back and they don't sit there and just don't get used, and I can get them back and make sure that I can deal with them correctly. Have them check for inbound missing units in case anything's lost in inbound. So that way we can find that out. They can submit the claims and then we get reimbursed for the missing units. Because if you wait too long on that, they won't process a reimbursement. It is a little bit of a longer time frame, but it's still something that you need to have taken care of. And then I also have them do my inventory costs. So something new with Amazon is when you're getting reimbursed for items, they are now basing it off of what they think your sourcing cost was. Don't know how they get to that price, but it's usually a lot lower than what you paid. So you do have to go in and submit your invoices, put in what price you're requesting, and then have it approved or denied. It usually always gets approved though. So every time I do a new shipment, they go in, adjust the prices just as soon as possible, because if you have something missing in inbound, you want to get a reimbursement for it. That's as soon as it would be possible to get a reimbursement. And it could only be maybe a week out or so when that kind of thing shows up. So I want to have this taken care of right away. You can also throw in repricing, have them take care of that, have them take care of a lot of other things for you. Just depends on what you want to do and what you don't want to do and what's really important at your time frame for what you're doing inside of your business. You can always add things on later, take things out if it's not necessary. I had them start doing a few extra things and I realized it's not necessary and worth the time wasted on that. And something else that I personally do is this stuff doesn't take up all day. So I have my admin VA source while they're not doing admin tasks. They don't just clock out after this is done. They switch over and they start sourcing new products. So that way I can it's kind of a 2-for-1 situation going on. But I do have a full video on hiring VAs and all of that. But in case you haven't seen that, just come over to onlinejobs.ph here. Sign up for an account, $69.99 a month. You only need 1 month of a subscription. When you sign up, you will just click on post a job here, and then you can see this application here. You'll just put in your job title, be like Amazon online arbitrage product sourcer, something like that type of employment, full time for sure. Then you can throw in a job description here, and I'll leave this down in the description, the link to download this for free. This is the job post that I used, just kind of a blanket description of what we're looking for. Job requirements, only thing is really internet connection. Responsibilities, you can add things in here if you want them to do admin tasks or just flip it out for admin stuff. Put in your tasks that you want them to do or just say Amazon backend admin VA, something like that. Prior experience, really only use Keepa and SellerAmp for sourcing, so that's why that's in there. Benefits, flexible work schedule. I personally don't have them work through US times. I would not want to ever do that for any employer. If I was a regular employee, work through the middle of the night graveyard shift, that sucks. So let them work their desired hours. You can have them try to stick to a set schedule. I don't. I don't care when they work as long as it gets done. At least they work for the day. If they don't work, then I don't pay them. So it's really up to them, but they do work 5 days a week, most days, unless there's an emergency, they're sick or something like that. And also, the benefit to this is like every time that I wake up in the morning, I can just instantly check leads. I don't have to do it at night. I don't have to do it anytime. I could if I wanted to, but the soonest I could do it is like right when I wake up in the morning because they've done it while I'm sleeping. If I have any things that I need to show them, they're usually clocked in before I go to sleep. So it does work out. It's not that big of a deal. I do bi-weekly payment. Some people do every week. I just like to do it in 2 weeks. For the first like month or so, I did do every week, and then we switched over just because if they don't have a job for a while, they might need money. They don't want to wait 2 weeks for you to pay them after they start working. Just be as nice as you can to these people. Flexible time off. They do earn time off every month that's paid. You can set that up how you want to. And then I do give them all of their holidays off paid. Not that many, and it's worth it to keep them happy and have them enjoy the position, really. I do send them a practice test, so just take some screenshots of Keepa charts that are good, bad, seller amp panels. Ask them some questions. Would you have them, or would you put this in the list for me to purchase? Why not? See what they respond. That's how you really narrow down your results or your applicants, because you are going to get a lot of them. And then I do ask them these 3 questions just because I want them to make sure, or I want to make sure that they are actually reading this, because a lot of times some people will just copy paste applications and give a whole little blurb about themselves and their past experience, whatever. And if they don't answer these three questions, then I know that they didn't actually read the post, and that's what they're doing, is just spamming out applications. You don't really want that. You want somebody who's going to pay attention, because later down the line, you need them to be able to pay attention if you hire them. You can swap this out for something else. Some people ask, like, what's your favorite color? Where's your dream vacation? Some random question just off of Amazon. Really up to you, whatever you want. So you'll fill that in here, throw in your wage salary per month, whatever it is, $3, $5, $4, whatever, but put it in month. And then 40 definitely down here if you're doing full time. If you do decide to do part time, it would be 20, and then you'd put in part time here. Then you just throw in your email and your name and in these boxes underneath here, and you post the job. You will get a lot of applications though. Most of them, it's at least like 100 or so, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less within the first couple of days. So you are going to have a lot of stuff to do and go through. It is pretty time consuming, but it is worth it once you get them hired and all of that. When you do decide to hire somebody, let them know that you're going to do either a 1 week or a 2 week paid trial. So that way you can evaluate what they do, and they will really kind of focus in and try to fix things if necessary and get it all streamlined very quickly. Some people do free trials unpaid. I wouldn't do that, because you're not going to get the best out of somebody. They might go start another one too, or just not be as focused. And it's also just not right to have somebody work 2 weeks for free and give you potential products that are going to make you money and you're not paying them. That's not really the right thing to do. So after the trial's up, let them know if they're going to continue or if they're not. And if they're not, move on to the next one. If they are, then cancel this out and you're good to go. That's all you really need to know about when to hire, how to hire, and what they actually do for you, how to get your time back on virtual assistants. If you've been going back and forth with yourself about starting your own Amazon business, click the link in the description. It is right before Q4, the best time of year to start selling on Amazon, and you do need a little bit of practice before that time's hit to be able to maximize it. So I do help people one-on-one do that exact thing every single day. So if that is something that you're looking for, definitely schedule a call and we can talk about how I can help you. If you have any questions about anything I went over in this video, leave a comment down below and grab the free job post in the description as well. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.